Hello my friends, hope you're well. Today I'm on location in Wilton today, filming a brand new interview and a brand new podcast with Andy from the Courtyard Marketplace. Hello Andy.
Hi, Colin.
How are you?
I'm all right, thanks.
Good. For those who don't know you, don't know the shop, what would you say to those people? How would you kind of position yourself and articulate to those people who maybe don't know you?
Basically, we're a artisan food shop with a eco theme and a refill eco station or eco refill station. We support lots of small producers throughout the UK, and our emphasis is on quality, not quantity. It's just about sourcing nice products for our customers to enjoy, and that's what we love. We just love finding different products.
So you've been, we were talking a little bit before whilst I was setting up and such, and you've been established since 2016.
Yeah.
How did you get here? Because you weren't, from my understanding, you weren't here from 2016. So where did it kind of start?
Well, it started with my daughter, Wendy,
Okay.
and her husband. They decided they wanted to set up a cafe called the Courtyard Cafe. I was then made redundant and took on the farm shop element of the cafe. And that's really where the marketplace started, from a small beginnings in the cafe. And our first supplier at that point, who we deal with today, or still to date, 8 years on, is the Hawkshead Relish Company, who are based in the Lake District. They have been tremendously supportive of us right from day one, and without them we probably wouldn't exist today. They've supported us, they've helped us create what we have today. But even now, a lot of our emphasis on products still goes around that original stocking of the Hawkshead brand.
From that perspective, I mean, what was there like? Because obviously you're very artisan. Was that a very specific choice that you wanted to go down? Because I think when people look at farm shops, they maybe the wrong word is snobby, but they can be perceived that way, you know? And I think that actually, I think it's the value perspective and the perspective when it comes to thinking about the thought process behind the owner of the shop and how did you choose your stock? How does it, because I think it's a big deal, because to an extent you're sort of marrying the two brands and saying, well, like, I put my quality stamp on this, you know, especially with the reputation you now have.
Well, initially, we was going to go down the local route, because local is the thing. But it soon became apparent that Wiltshire is not a food capital, and the suppliers that we did approach weren't particularly interested in us because we were small fry. And that's why we approached Hawkshead, because we like their labelling, which is very simple and to the point, and the product just stands out. And then it's grown from there, really, is finding nice products from around the UK that fit the brief of good quality. They're going down the eco route. Great Taste Awards, that features a lot on a lot of our products, although it's not something that we specifically look out for. It just happens to be that a lot of our suppliers have won lots of awards, or the Great Taste Awards. So it's really grown from the Hawkshead side, but now we are far more than just a Hawkshead stockist. So now, fast forward to 2025, we do now have a lot more localish products. So we've got oil, the rapeseed oil from Shrewton, we've got local honey, we've got peanut butter, we've got a variety of things, but it could be Dorset, it could be Hampshire, Cornwall. So it's the whole spectrum, and we do try now to look at more local products, but it is still that thing of Wiltshire isn't a food capital. We're always on the lookout for something new, something different.
That aligns and works, I think, is from what I've gathered from our conversations previously, and fits into what else you offer.
Yeah, we won't put any old thing in. Yeah, we're not just going to be another supermarket stroke convenience store. You know, we think about what we put in. We're not just going to put in something just because. It's got to meet lots of criteria, and customers ask us for certain things, and for the most part, we listen. Again, if it fits our brief, we do put in things that customers ask for, and that's how we sort of grow our range, I suppose.
Would you say that, because obviously in a place like Wilton, it's very small and it's very community led, would you say that if you were in, say, somewhere bigger or a more, I guess in some ways like a external of a city, or like the location is where this question's going, what role would you say the location here plays in how successful or not successful potentially a shop or your shop is?
Well, we think it's massive, the location thing, because we've been in here 2.5 years now, and we do feel that we're becoming part of the community. A key thing for us is customer service, being there for our customers. We have customers that come in just for a chat. Yes, we want people to buy things, but we're there for people if they just want to come in just for a chat. You wouldn't get that in your bigger shops. You wouldn't get that in a city centre, and that's why we love this location so much. And a lot of our customers now are becoming friends. So it's a whole social element as well. We're there. We like to think that we're there for our customers as much as anything, if that makes sense.
No, I think that's really key, and I think it's about, for me anyway, it's about understanding where you sit in your community potentially. I mean, a lot of what I've built my business on, mostly Salisbury focused when I lived there, but now I'm living in Wilton more. It's always about how can I, even not if there's a commercial benefit necessarily, but like how can I position myself as the go-to helper in what I do for the local area, right? So we've done Chalk Valley, for example, for 4 years now, if you count this year. Never made a penny off it, right? We've done a decent amount of the Salisbury events. Again, never made real there's a few commercial transactions in there, but like very, very few. If you look at the kind of event portfolio as a whole, 95%, 85% is like free. In that respect, I think it's about the passion, and I think like a lot of the marketing strategies that you could use is leveraging that community goodwill to an extent. And I mean, how do you feel about doing that? Because I think there is that kind of question mark in some ways as well, because like it could be perceived as a bit manipulative or a bit like you're leveraging the community goodwill. But also I think that's how a community will thrive. I think that's how a town or a village or a city will be seen by a larger group, and that kind of community effort. And it's very kind of buzzword, like the community is a buzzword in marketing at the moment, about how do you build community around your organization, around your shop, around your business. I mean, how does one do that, would you say?
I think for us, it's just about me and Wendy being us, and being open, being no frills, no sales gimmicks, just being us and ourselves, and I think that portrays a lot. And people do come in for the banter, people do thrive off of that, and people know that they can come in and not be bombarded with sales pitches. There's nothing devious about anything we do. It's all genuine.
For me, it's your intention with it, right? I think sometimes when people throw the word community authenticity around, it's not authentic to them what they're doing. What they're doing is seeing a trend and potentially jumping on it and be like, oh, I need to have community in my business, I need to be authentic, etc. I think for me, as someone who's been, I believe anyway, true to myself and true to authenticity when it comes to everything I've done since I established in 2018, I think, and sometimes to my detriment, right, as well, which I think is the key for like when you're being truly authentic, is actually, it's sometimes good for you, but also it can, for me personally, have a negative connotation because I'm 100% honesty policy. So, and sometimes I have been known to maybe say things in such a way that could ruffle some feathers, right? And I think, and it kind of leads on, I guess, to the question of, because everyone has a level of maybe a misunderstanding or burn a relationship, maybe not from their perspective, like they wanted that to happen, but that's the kind of nature of what ended up happening. How did you handle that? How do you deal with that, like personally, as either you personally or as a business? How do you sort of navigate that when it happens? Because I think it's natural in business, right?
Well, it is
sometimes,
unfortunately.
unfortunately.
I mean, I didn't even know community was a trend in that sense because we just do what we do. But you always know when if somebody isn't going to be receptive to how we are, we'll be pleasant. We'll ask them if they're looking for anything in particular, and then you just leave them to browse and to look in their own time, and then they either carry on and buy something or they go off on their way. But you can always pick up when people are not comfortable with that sort of thing, because not everybody is, and we understand that.
Do you think it's more of a like, okay, you're just not for us, or we're not for you kind of perspective then?
Possibly, but then some people just want to come into a shop, browse and get whatever they're after and be gone. They're not interested in having a conversation or passing the time of day, and that's fine because we're all different. And that's probably what makes it more interesting. But to be honest, we get very few people that are actually like that. We're getting to know the personalities of a lot of our customers. We know if they've maybe had some issues, and so we try to be caring. We remember these things, and it's because we want to. It's not because there's any sort of game plan that it's.
It's about being human and being like real, right? I think sometimes people could perceive it, or one could perceive it because of salespeople doing it to be fake, to warm the lead to then get the sale, right? And I think it comes back to that intention element, and I think for me anyway, it's what was your intention going into it, and did you have good intentions going into it and into that interaction, and then how does that knock-on effect, like if that knock-on effect is then positive, happy days. If it's then potentially negative, could you reflect on maybe how, or just take it as, okay, actually, maybe they're not for us, in that respect. For me personally, and I have had that with clients, I've had that with ex-clients, I've had that with potential clients, etc. I mean, you obviously operated through COVID, which was going to be my next question about like how, and it's kind of a more of a diversification question related to like how do you, because you could look at it like what happens when something like COVID happens, or what happens when things aren't, as we were discussing when I was setting up, things aren't doing as well as you would want them to, right? We're always in a position where hopefully things are good, but we had room for more. And I think it's about the difference between two businesses will be the ones that go, okay, we can sort of see what's happening and we can see what's coming if we don't act. What have you done? Is there things you've like pivoted or adapted and now offer that I think would make you either unique or has allowed you to sort of weather those storms?